Charlton was one of the toughest and best left-handed relievers in baseball over a 13-year Major League career that found him an All-Star in 1992, a four-time participant in the postseason, and member of the infamous Nasty Boys bullpen that helped Cincinnati win it all in 1990. Norm, how are you today?
Very good. How are you guys?
Not too bad. Pretty good. As I mentioned there in the intro, you were a part of the Nasty Boys bullpen along with Rob Dibble and Randy Myers in Cincinnati. Have you ever seen, played with, or played against a better trio of relievers than that championship trio with the Reds?
Well, I don't think so. There's been some pretty good guys after us. There's been some pretty good combinations. But we'd like to think that we kind of set the bar.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of like to think, although maybe egotistical, that we kind of still hold the bar. Like I said, there have been some guys come after us. There have been some trios of relievers that put up pretty good numbers, and some maybe even better numbers than us.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we did it, and the way we set the tone, the way we went about our business, and the way it really affected the way that other managers managed the game, I'd like to think we were the best. Maybe not, but I'd like to think so.
Mm-hmm. Well, that pen is one of the most talked about in baseball history. I mean, everyone talked about you guys were tough, nasty, crazy, you were winners. What's the best Nasty Boys story you can share with us on air?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of them. We had a lot of fun. Not only was it the three of us on that team that did a lot of things together, it was our whole team. We could talk about stories about Randy sitting in the locker room reading his newspaper with a machete and a block of cheese and a machete, and he said he used a machete to cut the cheese record. But you come near him, he'd take a swipe at you. I don't think he's trying to cut anybody's leg off, but that was the kind of the mystique. And remember, there was one time in Philadelphia, Larry Rothschild, pitching coach for the Yankees now, was our bullpen coach.
Mm-hmm.
And they had an electric garage door that kind of led into the back of the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It went pretty high up in the air, and I remember there was one time that hit the up button, and Randy and Rob and myself, all three were holding on to it. We were, 16, 15, 12, 20 feet in the air, holding on to that garage door. Okay, you guys can let us down now. all above concrete, all wearing our spikes, and Larry was kind of having a conniption fit, thinking, "Guys, good God, if one of these guys falls and gets hurt on my watch, then it might cost him my job." So, we did a lot of stuff like that. We played the game really hard, and we were really intense in the things we did. But not for one instant did we ever come to the ballpark not anticipating having fun that day.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the evolution of the reliever in today's game? That trio we just talked about, you guys were all tough pitchers. You'd face any hitter, left or right-handed, multiple innings if needed. Do you like the new specialist approach for bullpens that are utilized now?
Well, I think it's good for the players. I think it allows, you get guys that are left-handed specialists, allows them to stay in the game longer.
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of the beginning of the evolution. Guys like Scioscia and Quisenberry and those guys that actually really work for their saves.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 innings at a time. I'm not saying 1 inning at a time is not work, but 3 innings at a time it definitely is. You get those guys from that era that kind of started the evolution of the relievers. I know Lou Piniella would bring guys in. If you got a lead in the 6th, guess what? Here comes a closer. Probably not good for longevity of careers, but on the other hand, work for the team at the time. And so I think now with the more specialization, left-handed setup man, right-handed setup man, long guy when you're ahead, long guy when you're behind, right-handed guy that you put in a tie game or you're losing, and right-handed guy you put in a tie game or a game that you're winning, and a closer that's pretty much only throwing 1 inning. I think it's made the game a better game. May have made them a little bit longer. They sell a little more beer. But I think it's made the game better.
Mm-hmm. What about the rash of Tommy John surgeries that have been required this year and in years past? I mean, do you feel in any way that the way the pitchers are handled today contribute to that epidemic?
Man, I don't see any way you can look at that and say they're not getting overworked. The pitchers and players are being handled more with kit gloves today than I think they ever have been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. 3 or 4 years ago, the oblique was the injury of the year. This year, it seems like to be Tommy John is the injury of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing out numbers here. 5 years ago, it was the hamstring was the injury of the year. It just seems like you get a rash of those things at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Does kids playing select ball and the number of throws contribute to it? I don't know. They've done a bunch of research, Dr. Andrews and several other doctors. There's a whole group of them that did a bunch of research, and they seem to think that the number of throws when you're younger is contributing to Tommy John.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the answer to that. Those guys are the doctors, and I guess they're pretty good at what they do. So,
mm-hmm.
I'll have to agree with that for now. Now, you get back to the big leagues, you got guys with, we're not talking $1 million arms, we're talking guys with $10 million arms now.
Right.
And they treat them, for the lack of a better word, they baby them as much as they can. Not that any of them are babies. They've all put their work in.
Mm-hmm.
They've been through the stress. They put in the sweat and equity to get there. But they treat them with kid gloves to try to get every bit that they can out of them. So I really don't think that the way guys are being used now is contributing to that. I think it's happening before they get to the big leagues, probably before they get to professional baseball.
Mm-hmm. Well, your nickname was the Sheriff, so who better to speak about players policing themselves than you? The old way had pitchers retaliating for one of their players getting drilled by returning the favor to the opposition, but that's been, for all intents and purposes, eliminated from the game today. Umpires almost immediately warn both benches. That changes the old style forever, really. Yet fighting was, and never shall be a part of the NHL hockey game. If we're up to you, would you let the players police themselves like they did in the past, or carry on the way the game is managed today?
I think the players did a great job of policing themselves. I really do. If pitcher A on Team A, the starter on Team A drills somebody, and then the starter on Team B drills somebody in retaliation, and the starter on Team B gets thrown out and suspended for 5 days, that's not really fair.
Mm-hmm.
It costs Team B a suspension. If a guy that missed a start, it forces them almost sometimes to bring up a minor leaguer and make that start for the guy that should be making that start, and it's not fair. Team A wants to hit somebody, fine. You hit somebody. We'll hit one of yours.
Mm-hmm.
We'll hit two of yours. And you may have a little beanball war. You know what? It sells tickets. People like it. Every ESPN or MLB station, every news station across the country, they don't care if Tampa Bay beat the Yankees 2-1. But good God, if Milwaukee and Minnesota had a fight, that's going to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it sells tickets. It's a rarity that players are getting injuries of any actual time amount to those things. So let the players take care of it themselves. Now, I wholeheartedly understand the owner's perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
But we got King Griffey Jr., and we're paying him X amount of dollars. We don't want him getting hit. We don't want to take the chance of a broken wrist, or we don't want to take the chance of him missing 2 weeks because knucklehead Norm Charlton decided he didn't like the way he wore his pants. I wholeheartedly understand that.
Mm-hmm.
As a pitcher who's been hit in the head twice by line drives, I think you're doing something really wrong when you take the inside pitch away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Because now when I try to throw a ball away, as a left-handed pitcher, when I try to throw a ball away to a right-handed hitter and he has no fear of reaching out there and getting it, the ball comes back up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I have just thrown one under his armpits and stood him up, and he doesn't know if knucklehead Norm is going to do it again, he's much less likely to go out there and get that third strike on the outside corner. If he does go out there to get it, it's probably going to right field because he's probably putting a weak swing on it.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I allow him to have that inside part of the plate and I allow him to command that outside part of the plate and hit that ball with authority on the outside, he hits that ball back up the middle and I get hit.
Mm-hmm. You played for Lou Piniella in both Cincinnati and Seattle. Of course, we all know Sweet Lou was old school and tough as they came. Did you ever play for a better manager or one who knew the game inside and out as well as Piniella did?
Well, that's a really tough question. And for the lack of offending Lou, I played for some pretty good guys. I played for Lou Piniella in Cincinnati. I played for Lou 3 different times in Seattle. I also played with the late Jim Fregosi,
Mm-hmm.
who was a tremendous manager. He and Lou were very good friends. Fregosi was a tremendous manager. And also played for Bobby Cox for half a year.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're kind of splitting hairs there as to who's the best.
Right.
Different styles, but really hard to say who's the best. All three of them were tremendous baseball guys, tremendous assets to their ball club, and tremendous assets to the game of baseball.
Mm-hmm. You just talked about Seattle. Granted, it didn't end like it did in 1990 for you with the championship, but how special was the run made by the 95 refused to lose Mariners to you?
Pretty neat. The 95 run was pretty neat. A lot of people ask me, what was the greatest season you ever had, or what did you enjoy the most? You have to step back and realize, as a younger kid, I won a championship in 1990 with Cincinnati, where we started in first place, and we stayed in first place until we won the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
In 95, I got released by Philadelphia at All-Star break in 95. I came to Seattle, excuse me, and we had our big comeback in 95, where we had contributions from everybody on the club, names that most people won't realize or recognize. Alex Diaz, Doug Strange. I mean, Doug Strange hits a grand slam in the ninth inning to beat Texas, and we win a game. We won games in fashion that we shouldn't win games. We won games that we should not have won.
Mm-hmm.
If we were down 6-0 in the ninth inning with 2 outs and you decided to leave your seat in the Kingdome, you were an idiot, because we were probably going to win and you were going to have to listen to it on the radio on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two pretty good seasons right there. I was also a member of the 2001 team.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like I had a major contribution to that team, where we won 116 games.
Mm-hmm.
So, which one is the greatest season? Which one is the most fun? You would think that I would pick the World Series in 1990. 2001 was a lot of fun. We didn't lose I don't think we lost a series until September. So pretty special. And then you go back to the 95 season that kind of saved baseball in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tremendous team effort. And that's probably the season that I'm the most proud of. And even I was only there for half a season. I'm most proud of that because it was a team effort.
Mm-hmm. All players go to another level with regard to energy and intensity when the calendar turns to October, but certain players thrive on the big stage. You played 17 career postseason games. You had a 1.08 ERA, 22 strikeouts over 25 innings. Your WHIP was .88. How was it you were so successful come playoff time?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Maybe Lou put me in the right situation to succeed. I think it was a guy that thrived on the situation where when the game's on the line, I don't want to trust the ball to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like the ball in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I was an aggressive pitcher. I went right after guys, and I got ahead in the count. I mean, if I had to attribute my success or failure at different times in the big leagues, if you go back and you look at my numbers are bad when I wasn't throwing strikes and getting ahead of the count. When I was throwing strikes and getting ahead of the count those years that I felt good and that I threw strikes and got ahead, my numbers are good. Come playoff time, it's not that hard to look at the numbers, and guys are hitting 100 when you get ahead. When you get behind first pitch, they're hitting 300. So you want to get ahead.
Mm-hmm. He's been around for a few years now. He returned from a nasty injury to begin the season. What's your take on Reds closer Aroldis Chapman?
Pretty special talent. Pretty special talent.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way he goes about his business. He doesn't seem like he leaves anything on the ball field every day. I like the way he does things.
Mm-hmm. And finally, I can't let you go without talking about the collision with Mike Scioscia. That moment, really encapsulated not only your toughness, but spoke to the nastiness of the nasty boys. What comes to mind when you think back on that play at the plate with the former Dodgers catcher? And of course, he really had a great reputation for his ability to block the plate.
What comes to mind about that most is I hope my career is not remembered for that. That seems to be what most people remember.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing for me is coming off the field and Glenn Bragg's, who had just come over from Milwaukee, and who was a very, very large man.
Yeah.
He grabbed me and gave me a bear hug and said, "Man, I've never seen a game played like that. No wonder you guys win." And I said, Glenn put me down. I can't breathe. But that's the way we played the game. And Glenn had come over from Milwaukee, and I guess they didn't play the game that way over there at that time. But it got back to there's 25 guys on our team, and it was a clean play. It was a good collision. Was it necessary? I don't know. I felt it was, or I wouldn't have done it. I ran through a stop sign at third base from Sammy Palazzo, and there was a play at the plate the night before where Scioscia decoyed Eric Davis and then kind of shin guarded him. Clean play, good play, but got the best of Eric, and so he's not going to get the best of me.
All right, well, Norm, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk with us here this morning.